March 1st in Austin, Texas, the capital of our great state of Texas. It's 2 o'clock in the morning. This guy drives up in a vehicle, parks across the street from the bar, rolls his window down, puts his flashers on, takes a pistol, and starts shooting into the bar. He gets out and brings a rifle out with him and then starts shooting the rifle into the bar also. 3 dead, 18 injured. We're going to talk about that today in our podcast, the SAFESECURE 360 podcast. There's safety in numbers.
Lieutenant Robert Henry is an honorably retired law enforcement commander from Houston with over 35 years of public service experience. I'm Daniel Ziegler. I've been asking questions all my life, and on this show, I do my best to ask the questions that the public would like to know the answer to. The SAFESECURE 360 podcast is intended to provide you, the listener, with information about current events and ongoing societal challenges to help make your life safer. Thank you for listening. This is the SAFESECURE 360 podcast. There's safety in numbers. Well, Robert, thanks for sitting down and talking with us today. It's so interesting to talk to you about these types of things, as you're a former not only police officer but police commander, and you have some really unique perspective and experience on these types of things. You've been on scenes like this. I've been to this area plenty of times. Austin's 6th Street has lots of music and bars, lots of people walking around up until 2 a.m., which is around when this happened. When the bars close at 2 a.m., it's actually probably the busiest time on that area. More people are walking around right then than I normally see throughout the whole night. And so people were just sitting at the bar, and all of a sudden someone is shooting at them, hurting and injuring and killing them. The police responded very quickly, within 57 seconds, to the 911 call. How in the world is that response time so fast?
Well, here's what happened. So that bar apparently did not have off-duty police officers working. It's my opinion that maybe the next one did. And as soon as they heard these shots, or there was perhaps a foot patrol by the police at 2 a.m., as soon as some of these officers heard those shots, they responded. They're heroes once again. And they see this guy with a rifle now and the pistol. 3 people are dead already. And they take swift and appropriate action to stop that threat, and they kill him, which was a very good decision.
The shooter of this has a history. We have an episode, one of our first episodes, our early episodes, was called We Are Missing the Warning Signs. And this is just another example of this. I'm just going to quickly go down, but during a divorce, a judge said that, quote, he has a history of committing family violence. And then at his workplace in just December, just 3 months before this shooting happened, there's a report that a woman was walking around him as he was praying at work, and he stood up and threw this 65-year-old woman to the ground and then ran off. So help us understand active shooters. You could say it's this or it's culture or we're changing, but you have stated over and over again that this is a mental health and mental illness problem, an active shooter. Tell us a little bit about that and some of the warning signs. Help us understand what we're missing.
It certainly is an example of untreated, undiagnosed, undertreated mental illness. You just don't start shooting into a bar with a pistol and a rifle. You're prepared. You brought it with you. You brought ammunition. You brought 2 firearms. You have a plan. You have a rehearsed thing. You may have a manifesto. You are going to accomplish what you planned out quickly and efficiently. Thank God these police officers were in the area and were able to stop you before you did worse. But mental illness, absolutely present in this case. So you start seeing it with this background information about family violence. Family violence occurs when you harm, injure, threaten, kill, assault a family member or someone who is a associated member of your relationship status. And I think that is a clue, certainly. So now we have him. This guy worked at Tesla in Austin, and he's praying apparently there at his work, and which is fine. And then all of a sudden, this lady says hello or talks to him, and something happened, and he physically assaults her. Well, that's a 911 moment for sure, and she needed to report that to their HR and needed to report that to the police. Because later we hear that when this case is on television, the lady who was assaulted says, "Hey, that's the guy who assaulted me," right? So it is a trail, and these are characteristics that are building up until this event occurs.
You described this commonly, that there's a buildup. Sometimes there's a social media post that start to have some signs of don't be at school on Monday, or I can't stand this group of people and I'm going to do something about it now. And it looks like this is another example of that. So how can people who notice this in a friend or a coworker or a family member, I've asked you this question before, but how can they notice and report that?
It doesn't have to be a school or a church or a mall where you typically would associate an active shooter. This was a bar. This was a bar that we don't know if he had some connection to this bar, or if he was in that bar at some point, or he was angry about something that happened in that bar. There was some type of revenge strategy in place that he wanted to do this. I don't know those connections, but I'll tell you that equipping yourself like that and doing what he did is an active shooter event. He is actively shooting other people, and it's also, in my opinion, a terrorist event, right? Let me ask you, if you were in there and you see people around you being shot and killed and injured from gunfire, would you be terrorized?
Definitely.
Would you be in a state of mental panic that the person doing this wanted you to feel and experience? Yes, you would. So let's don't beat around the bush about, is this a terrorist event? Is it not? Well, if you were there, I guarantee you would say, yes, I was terrorized. They accomplished that mission. I wasn't shot or killed, but I was there, and it was a terrible thing that happened. But these episodes like this typically have a broadcast, or they'll tell someone, or they'll write a manifesto, they'll post online, they'll start acting differently at work, or they'll start making threatening comments, or they'll start a stalking scenario. There's certain cues and clues that lead up to this typically. And if you could interpret those and see those before they occur, you may have an opportunity to interrupt or stop this from occurring.
There's also people at the bar, like you said, they were just going out to have a drink with their friends, have a good time, and then all of a sudden they hear gunshots. We talked in another episode where we had a shooting at a hockey rink. These shootings are happening commonly. There have been 56 mass shootings in the USA this year in 2026, and it's early March. That's according to the Gun Violence Archive. So I think something that always, I think about it after we do these episodes, is you talk about there's a denial when you start to hear, if you are not used to hearing gunshots, your brain sort of, or something happens where you hear the first gunshot and you go, that couldn't be a gunshot. So what advice could you give to people who are out at the bar and they hear something weird? How can they have a few more seconds of breaking that denial sooner?
Well, think about being at a bar. There may be music playing. It may be very loud. It may cover or shadow a sound of breaking glass. If this guy was shooting from outside the bar and there was loud music, you may or may not, depending on the caliber of pistol, you may or may not have heard those first initial shots with the pistol. You would have, however, seen the result if he was effective in shooting through the glass and into the bar. You would see the effect of that, right? Because things are breaking or people are falling, or there's blood, or there's something going wrong. Now, when he transitioned to the rifle, that's a whole different thing. Now you have more rounds available to you, and you have a louder report from the gun. When you hear it, it's very loud. It's extremely loud. So you may have heard that. Now, the original shots that came in from the pistol may have been enough to have someone stop the music. There may have been enough for someone to lead and give instructions about everybody get down or get out, run this way, not towards the shooting, but away from it. A run, hide, fight scenario, which you should know and which your family should know. Run, get away from some event like this. You can't be killed or shot or injured if you're not there. Hide. If you can't run or you can run limitedly and then hide somewhere. Let the danger pass. And if nothing else happens and you have to fight, then be prepared to do so to defend yourself as a last resort. So I think that a lot of dynamics in play here with this, but this is an active shooter terrorist event for sure.
It certainly is. And when you were saying, yeah, you learn run, hide, fight in school oftentimes. We teach this class to schools, churches, to workplaces. But if you haven't had that in that place, we even teach it to families. When we do home assessments, we can teach the family a version that is just specific to their family, this run, hide, fight. So if you haven't had that training and you're curious about what we're talking about, go to SAFESECURE360.com right now and leave us a message. Go to the Contact Us form, and we'll help you out to understand this. But yeah, this run, hide, fight training, like in the hockey rink video, the people that were there said that training really helped them. The officers responded so quickly. This is not the case. That's not always the case when we have scenes like this, because you say often police aren't sitting in your driveway waiting for something to happen to your house. What can companies like this bar, or like maybe a coalition of the bars on the street, how can they have protection just for their area? What would they do, and who would they talk to about that?
Well, the use of off-duty police officers or uniformed security personnel in a setting, you see them everywhere. You see them all the time that are there. They're working what's called an extra job, or it may be their security assignment. If they're private security, we do that also. Their job is to be aware. Their job is to be observant. Their job is to protect and alert and encourage safety for all of the people that are there inside that building or event, whatever it may be, a concert or whatever it may be. So they're keenly aware of it. The two officers in this case that intervened are heroes. They accomplished, even though there was a loss of life and injuries, what could have happened may have been much worse. So I applaud our officers who are brave and who run towards the conflict and are trying to stop them from harming you. They're true heroes.
I agree. It is so nice to talk to you about this. I hope we continue to explore police ideas, because I think you're able to offer the public a different view of the police force than we often see. But yes, these are heroes. Imagine running towards a guy with a rifle. That most people can't do that. It's just not in nature for humans to do that. So the bars like this, where people gather, should be aware, like our intention is not to scare people, but they should be aware that even, this bar, they probably thought, we don't need security. It's too small of a place. We don't have enough people here. But we're seeing over and over again that little bars and hockey rinks, these terrorist type attacks designed to scare people from having a good time, are happening more and more often. So preparing and getting over the denial as an organization that this couldn't happen to us leads you to a chance to prepare. And so the way that this bar is now changing their stance on their protection, they're having increased police force. They're reopening soon, and they're going to have increased police force. And they're also using some new technology. They're using some protective glass along the beer garden where the people are sitting sort of halfway outside. Can you tell us a bit about protective glass?
I think the pioneers in this, and we've worked with companies and we work with this company, they're 3M security film products are one of many different applications which is applied to or applied within acrylics or glass. And their purpose, depending on the level of them, is to defeat, slow down, stop penetration of firearms of certain calibers. Certain glass types prevent certain types of calibers. Thicker, more advanced types prevent heavier calibers, like a rifle round, for instance. But it's a good idea to consider. We can link we'll put a link in about 3M safety films, because I think that they're kind of the leaders. There's a lot of companies that do it. There's some in Texas that do it. We've met them. So I encourage commercial establishments and schools to think about that. Maybe that is a preventative deterrence that you may want to put into your security profile. It's a good idea.
So that's security technology. Cameras are certainly technology, security cameras, and the security glass is also technology. But you've talked before about technology also needs some human interaction. Could you tell us a little bit about that? What would be the benefit of then having a human security force in addition to that?
Well, certainly having a trained, oriented security presence, whether it's off-duty police or security officers present, they have a plan. They are observing everyone. They're looking for clues or cues as to someone who may present a dangerous scenario. They're looking for people who are escalating in behavior, maybe a bar fight or there's some type of problem where they can intercede in that and de-escalate it or remove those people from that location, thereby reducing the threat and risk of injury to others. So I think that having security and having police officers off duty, it can be very expensive, but a lot of times the results are very good.
So this is a complicated issue. There's a lot going on in this. Is there anything that we didn't touch on yet that you want to share with the public? Any ideas that would be helpful for the bar, the public, anybody at home watching the story?
Yeah, we've said it a lot of times in some of our other podcasts about having your personal safety plan and knowing that today when you go in, whether it's a Subway sandwich place or a bar, hey, that's the way we came in, but look over there. There's an exit sign there. Look over there. There's an exit sign there. So if we had to leave in a hurry, the power all went off, there was a terrible thunderstorm, someone got into a large fight, someone produced a weapon, or hopefully not, someone fires a weapon in there or from outside inside. Our plan is to immediately, without discussion, go away from the threat. If it's in the back, we're going to the front. If it's in the front, we're going to the back. We're going to get away from it. We're going to get away from that. If you can't do it, it's too far, too many people, can't get there, then consider hiding or dropping to the floor. Make yourself less of a target. Perhaps get behind something heavy and stay there until this event passes. So I think that having that personal safety plan at a movie theater, at a mall, at a restaurant, just takes a few seconds. Hey, look, see that exit? Something goes wrong. Remember, we can come out this way or that way. And I say, let's go to the back. That's where we're going. You got it? Yes. Everybody has it. They all understand, even children. And you're good to go.
Well, thank you, Robert, for all that advice. I think the personal safety plan that you just described is one of the coolest things we talk about on this podcast, and it's so helpful for people and easy to understand. So I want to say thank you for that. If you want a more robust, or if you're a part of an organization, a church, school, bar, a workplace of any kind, we can help you with your organization's safety plan. We also do residential safety planning as well, where we can sit down with your family, look at your house, talk to you about your own plan, and we could talk about things like going out in those times as well. Just go to SAFESECURE360.com and fill out our comment form saying who you are and what you're looking for help with, and we're just glad to help you. As we say every week, there's safety in numbers. Thank you all for watching. Go ahead and like and subscribe if you haven't yet. This is the SAFESECURE 360 podcast. There's safety in numbers. The information provided in our podcasts is for general information uses only and is not intended as legal advice. The views and opinions expressed by the guests are their own. Always consult with a qualified professional before making safety and security decisions. For more information about this topic, check out our website at SAFESECURE360.com.